Hi, we're live. Not our normal. This is our second live.
No,
in a month.
yes.
So
our bonus
live. Our
Bonus
special
live feed.
Mother's Day, post Mother's Day edition live, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. So, well, I guess for this video, since that's kind of like, we need to know what this video is about, right?
Since you don't know why we're here.
Yeah, you don't know why we're here, but I know you're super excited that we are. We thought that since this month was, we celebrated Mother's Day, that it would be really fun to ask Kelly's mom what her favorite book was, so that way we could read it ourselves and see if we agreed with her that it was good. She gave us a bunch of different options, and one of those options happened to be Firefly Lane. And when Kelly told me that that was one of the books, I was immediately like, we're reading this book.
I knew as soon as my mom said it that that was the one we were going to read.
Yeah.
But
because I am obsessed with the Firefly Lane show.
Yes.
Like, I love that show so much.
And she's been wanting to read it for a while now.
Yeah.
So I knew that was the one. I was like, yeah, okay. Because Mom and I were talking about it, and she was talking about some of her, older favorites, but some of them were just way too long to do the video. Some of them were part of the series. And then she's like, oh, well, I just finished one. It was so good. And it was Firefly Lane. And I said, oh, that's it. I know which one we're picking. So that is what we read.
Yeah, this one. And it's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's like...
It's almost 500
pages.
500
pages, yeah.
Yeah. So I was surprised. I thought it was going to be like a multi... Like, I know it's a series still. Like, there is a second book.
Yeah, there's a second book.
Which I'm confused as to what would be in the second book.
Oh, I read the description. I read because I thought it was a novella. And so I was going to read it for reasons I'll say. But I was going to read it, and then I realized it's another almost 500-page book. Yeah, so I was like, no, thank you. If that doesn't give you a clue, I didn't like the book very much. So
yeah, which surprisingly was a thing that we shared on this.
Yeah,
and I also didn't really like the book.
I was sure you were gonna like it. I really was, because she likes the TV show so much. I thought for sure. But.
Well, the TV show changed some things, like in their actual storyline, that the book didn't have in it. Like, there were a lot of differences, and they were big enough differences, and the TV show just did better.
So. All right, well, let's talk about it. This does contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, come back when you've read it, and then you can see what we thought.
Yeah.
See what you thought too. So, yeah. So Firefly Lane, if you're not familiar, is the story of two friends who met when they were about 12 years old, and the book follows 30 years of friendship. The ups and the downs, life, how they go to pursue their dreams and the times that they clash and that sort of thing. So it's really a long-term, how their friendship evolves through their different paths and things like that. That's the book. That's what the book's about. So that was kind of the first thing. I don't really like books like that. I don't like that. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't enjoy it. I don't get into it very often. And it's kind of like with the generational books, like where one 600-page book covers like 3 generations. I just don't get into those books. So it was already an uphill battle for me. And it never made it.
It continued to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah. Through knee-deep snow.
Yeah.
It was, I will say this, she's an excellent writer. She really is, because I read a 500-page book in 2 days, a book I didn't like, and I still read it in 2 days. So she is a very good writer. And I do think part of it was I kept expecting something to happen, and it just didn't. So she's really good at building that. I mean, because I think that's what kept me reading. Is I was like, I knew something was going to happen. I was waiting for it, and then it just kept going and going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are my overall impression. Is she's a very good writer. It's a well written book. So,
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that. Like, it was really easy for me to read this book quickly. And I also was wanting more to happen. Like, I just got bored with it. Like, even though like she's a really good writer, I was bored because I just felt like this is just so mundane and there's not really a whole lot of things happening. And
yeah, there's a reason that like my life isn't a book.
yeah.
I like my life. I love my life. It's great. It isn't like drama book material.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have liked it really though, even if it had. I mean, it would have to been pretty.
Have you watched the show?
No, haven't had any desire to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I just don't like it.
See, that's the thing. Is like the first like maybe 100, 200 pages of this book follows the show really fairly well. Like they're pretty similar. But then after that, once it starts getting into, oh gosh, I think when Kate leaves to go to another job and then she has her kids and all of that, that's when the book starts to get a lot different from the TV show.
Oh.
And that's when you really lost me here, Kristin Hannah. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think so too. I was kind of with it up till they finished college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even shortly after college. But I don't even know because I read it on my Kindle, so I don't even know what page it was or what part it was. But about the time they just started their adult life, I got bored.
Mm-hmm.
I was done with it because that whole, I don't even know if it was like half the book. It felt like half the book. All they did was whine about their lives, like continuously, and then do nothing to try and alter it, nothing to change. And I just was like, woof, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Because it was sincerely the same. I don't even know if I'd call it a problem for them. I mean, it was something that made them unhappy. Tully and her, like, not having anybody, not having a family, and Kate not having anything outside of a family. It was basically like, I don't know if it was just supposed to be like, oh, how these two friends want each other's lives or whatever. But they whined constantly about it and the same whine all the time. So whatever. But it was like half the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at least a solid third of it because the end was stupid, but the end lost the whole thing for me, really. But up until then, I mean, kind of Tully moved into the community and because she was living with her grandmother and her mom had serious addiction problems, and so her mom would just take off and leave and left her with her grandma. But she'd come back and she'd taken Tully and they moved across the street from Kate and her family. And so that's how kind of the girls met. Mm-hmm. But that was the first thing that I really did not like is that, again, they were older than 12 though. They were like 14.
Yeah, I think that they were in junior high at that point. So yeah,
so Tully is like well-developed, early developed, beautiful, bombshell kind of beautiful, and she gets asked out to a party by a senior boy and proceeds to be sexually assaulted at this party. And coming home from the party, Kate couldn't sleep, so she was outside and she saw Tully and they talked, and that's kind of where the friendship started. But that is like literally the only time that Tully's assault is ever a problem for her. Like she cries about it, and that's like it. And then it's behind her and she's done and she's moving on. And that's it. I mean, they treated that so poorly. So poorly.
There's a little bit of a mention of it later when she first gets with Chad.
Yeah, but it's not a problem.
No, she's over it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it never has. There's never any kind of consequences. I mean, obviously she never goes to the police or anything like that. But I mean, there's no consequences for Tully either. Like, she's not scarred by this in any way at all. And I thought, okay, that was a choice.
Not the right one.
Not the right one.
Choice.
It was a choice, and I think that it didn't need to happen. I mean, seriously. She could have gotten to this party and been overwhelmed, and her date ditched her, and she had to walk home. That literally, the way they treated her assault was as if that had happened. So I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
But other than that, the real trauma for Tully was, Tallulah is her real name, Tully, was her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a factor in her entire life. And so I thought it was really good the way Tully was written into how she would be like Kate was her best friend, like really best friends. And yet she would sometimes treat Kate so badly. And the reasons why she did it were so well put out there. And so that part, the part where they went into college and that whole deal was, I thought it was really, really well in showing these two women how they were kind of maneuvering through their lives and making future plans and things like that. I thought that was really well done. And then it just went to hell.
Yeah.
It really did. I still didn't like them. I didn't like either of these characters. I didn't like them when they were younger. But at least it was interesting to read about them. Kate's mom was my favorite character of the whole book.
Kate's mom was pretty dope.
Mrs. M.
Yeah. Mrs. Malarkey.
Mrs. Malarkey. She was my favorite. The whole of everybody, and she was only in it for a few scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
But she was my favorite character. But anyway, that's kind of what the first half was good. The second half, I wouldn't go good. I mean, it was okay. But the second half was just.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that a lot. Like, I don't know. There's going to be a whole lot of times where I'm just going to be like, well, in the TV show, like, there's going to be some comparisons.
Because she likes the TV show.
I love the TV show. Let's get that straight here. It's one of my all-time favorite TV shows that I've ever seen. It made me sob so hard. Like,
oh,
yeah, the TV show is so good. And I am so disappointed by this book because I really don't understand how this book could not have made me feel even like remotely close to how the TV show made me feel. I don't understand how Netflix took the story that they had from this book because they're not the same. Right? I don't know. But
okay, so I have not watched the movie, or the show. But what's so funny is that looking at when you log on to Netflix, they've got all the pictures and stuff. I thought it was a mother and a daughter.
Yep, that was my first thought too.
I really did. And so when I didn't read any farther. I didn't even read the description on Netflix because I'm like, okay, whatever. So when we were reading this book and I went to pick it up, I was like, well, these are what? These are two people. Because it does. It looks like the picture of them looks like a mother and a daughter. So that's kind of what I was expecting was a mother-daughter story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Yep, sure were. But I don't know. I really just did not like the second half of the book.
Mm-mm.
Like, it just, none of it made sense. I really didn't like how they did Kate and Johnny's love story in the book. That pissed me off royally, like, so much.
Yeah.
Because
me
it's
too.
like, for the majority of the book, when Kate and Johnny are together, there's so much doubt that is in Kate's mind, and then also then instilled into the reader about whether Johnny's actually all in it.
Yeah, well, he's
Like,
not.
Well, you would think, that's what
He's
the book wants you
not.
to think.
Yeah.
But then at the very end of the book, when, it's Kate's time is almost up, it's like,
It was you. It was always you. And
I never loved her. She didn't mean anything to me.
Through 500 pages of Kate's insecurity and doubts, now she believes him.
Yeah.
And
that makes
it was
no
never
sense.
love. She never. Bullshit.
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way. There were so many scenes.
He was so into Tully.
Yeah.
He was so into Tully.
So into her. Like, as I'm sitting here reading this, I'm just like, he wants to be with Tully. Kate was a second choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it literally was.
Yeah,
Like,
she was.
She was 100% a second choice. And I think that he only went with Kate as a way to stay close to Tully, and also because she treated him really well. And he liked how Kate treated him. So it's like,
yeah, because well, okay, so when they went to college, when they were younger, and Tully's mom did what Tully's mom does, and so all of a sudden Tully was back with her grandma, and then her grandma died, and yeah, and then Tully ran away because they were going to send her to foster care. Tully ran away back to Firefly Lane, which was the street that these girls lived on. And anyway, it was a whole thing. They kind of got in trouble. Well, hi, Elena. Nice to see you again. By the way, we're talking about Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah, and we are talking spoilers. So just so you know, Tully runs away, runs back to this place. They've got this whole plan where Kate's mom has been told that Tully is staying with her mom. Their mom showed back up again. They're back at the house. She didn't. In a whole, I'm sleeping at Kate's house, Kate's sleeping at my house kind of thing, so they can go to this party. And it's a big deal. The girls get arrested, and Kate's mom comes in and basically says, Kate wants you to live with us, but are you going to be a good friend to Kate? And basically giving her a warning. Mrs. M gives Tully lots of warnings throughout this book that Tully completely ignores because apparently Tully is a dumb bitch. So Tully comes to live with them. And when she does, because of a passing comment that Mrs. M says about a woman newscaster, Tully decides that is her goal in life, is to be a journalist. And so when they go to college, and of course, Kate is going to be her sidekick.
Yes.
They're going to be together and do everything together.
Tully and Kate.
Yeah,
it's like
Tully
they're
and
the
Kate.
Same person, they're always together.
Yeah. So when they go to college, of course, Kate is starting to drift into, that's not really what I want to do. But she
doesn't want to be a reporter. She kind of just.
So Tully is like, I don't know, she bowls her way in everywhere. And she gets this job at this TV station. And then after they graduate, she gets Kate a job at this TV station.
KCPO.
In which Johnny is their boss. Producer. He's the producer on this small TV station. So instantly, Johnny is attracted and interested in Tully, and Kate is interested in Johnny. So you have this
lovely little love triangle.
This little sort of love triangle.
Yeah.
But it's that whole part of the book is filled with a lot of Tully just being completely oblivious. And she has in a relationship with a former professor of hers, Chad. And so she's just, she's oblivious. She's got her mind on her goals and her career and what she needs to do that. And she's completely oblivious, and Kate's all angsty over the whole deal. She's pining.
Hardcore.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's just obvious. I mean, Kate knows that he is looking at Tully, and
yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, there's this whole thing for I don't know how long. what did they say, like 3 years they worked at
Yeah.
that TV station?
Yeah. It was 3 years.
3 years of this.
Yeah. And Kate never once came out and told Tully or Johnny how she felt.
Mm-mm.
And then Johnny and Tully ended up having a drunken
One-night stand.
one-night stand or whatever. And then it was after that, I think, that Kate finally told him
Yeah.
that,
well,
but
it's because,
wait.
see, Tully took off then. Remember, she got the job. She got
She did.
She got an job offer.
In Chicago. Somewhere
Yeah.
different.
At a bigger TV station, and so she left.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, and then they did, but and then it was just like instant. Oh, they like slept together once, and then he's like, oh, okay, this works. Okay. Kate ends up pregnant
Later,
not
like right away.
Yeah, later,
because like Kate and Johnny do date for a long time.
they're in a relationship.
They're together, and there are definitely moments where Kate is very insecure about Johnny and Tully because she can see, like, she has eyes. Like, clearly this man still wants to be with Tully, but
or at least still
has some feelings
attracted
for her.
and feelings for her. But but then she gets pregnant and they get married, and as they're at the wedding, at the reception after the wedding, the last line of that chapter, or last section, is that Kate looks at Johnny and Johnny's looking at Tully.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I don't know, it's like, it's so clear in the book, it's written so clearly that there's these moments where Kate looks at Johnny and Johnny's watching Tully.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was only supposed to be like Kate's insecurities. Like, because it never says that he was drooling over her or anything, just that he was watching.
But the way that he talked about her too.
Yeah.
Like, he would be like, she's just so passionate. And like, Tully. Like, the way that he talked about her, there's no way that it was all just like in Kate's head. That there was
I don't think so.
There's no way.
I don't think so. No.
I hated that so much. And then, like, because in the TV show, their love story is so much better.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, if he wasn't into Tully, then anybody with half a brain or half a heart for their wife would understand and know, I shouldn't talk about this woman in this manner.
Yeah.
It was so insensitive. If he had any inkling, and at the end of the book, it very well says that he knew about Kate's insecurities. Tully knew about Kate's insecurities, and neither one of them did anything about that.
Because
Nothing.
they would still have their little moments together, like behind Kate's back.
Yeah,
not like they were making out or anything.
Not an
like
affair,
that, but like just like, they would just be alone together
at the anniversary party for
the TV show.
Tully gets a TV show,
and
at the anniversary party of the TV show, Tully and John are dancing and basically having a discussion about the past. And he says, Kate thinks I never got over you. And she looks up at him with her big eyes and says, did you? And of course, Kate walks in and sees them at this point.
Yeah, Tully all over Johnny.
Runs out and he chases her down. And then basically it's a, how could you think that about me? And
then sex.
Because you were dancing cheek to cheek with my best friend that you used to have the hots for, and probably the look between you probably wasn't terribly innocent.
Yeah, there's no way.
Come on.
There's no way that man is not oblivious, like, or that's stupid.
Mm-mm. So anyway, yeah. So Tully, fast track, promotion after promotion. And John used to be a war correspondent, and then something really bad happened, and he ended up as this producer of this small TV station. Well, he gets the opportunity to go cover in Iraq. Remember? He got hurt.
Not Iraq, though.
Yeah, it was, or Afghanistan. Because at the
I think
end,
it's
he
Afghanistan.
tells Tully when they go after her mom, he says,
Mhm.
"Remember Iraq."
I didn't think it was Iraq, but maybe it was.
Anyway, it was
It doesn't matter. That area.
that area, and he gets hurt and ends up terribly hurt in the hospital. Kate goes over there, and at this point, Tully is working in New York City, and
NBC. I think.
yeah, and her producer gets wind that Tully knows the war correspondent that got hurt, and basically sets it up to Tully that if you go in and get me an exclusive, because the wife is not talking to anybody, and you're best friends with the wife, you get us an exclusive, and we'll get you this promotion, basically.
Mhm.
So she does. She does. Kate is allowing nobody in the hospital, nobody in near John's room. He's unconscious. He's in a coma.
Mhm.
They don't know if he's going to live or die.
They don't know if he's blind or like whatever.
And Kate leaves to go talk to the doctor, and she comes back, and there's Tully in the room with a camera crew. That's the point that I would have been done with the friendship. Right then. Done. And her excuse, well, John is a TV man too. He understands. You follow the story.
He would have wanted this too.
And maybe so. I mean, obviously, because of what happened later on with other stuff, but maybe so. But the point is, he wasn't awake to consent to it.
Right.
It was Kate's decision at that point, and Kate had said no. And Tully took full advantage of Kate's friendship to get her exclusive. Tully was manipulative. She was narcissistic. She had no feeling for any other person but herself. She did not. It was only what other people could do for her. That was it. And how she and Kate had this supposed great friendship? Nuh-uh.
That was a one-sided friendship. Kate was a great friend to Tully.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than Tully ever deserved to have anyone.
Yeah,
like,
Tully was not. Mm-mm.
And there's also the like little moments in there where it'll be from like Tully's point of view or like third person Tully or whatever, and it will say like, and as Tully's laying there, she realizes that she never actually asked Kate about what's going on in her life, or like things like that.
Yeah, it was always about Tully.
It's always about Tully. Yeah,
always.
And even the little note at the end.
Well, and even the things, yeah, that pissed me off too.
Well,
even the things that should have been Kate's, somehow Tully would always flip around to be with Tully.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
yeah.
So
it's like Tully was trying to take Kate's life.
Well, she was, yeah, a little bit, because that's what she wanted. She was, she had this wonderful career, and how dare I even feel like something's missing?
Yeah,
but she wanted somebody.
She wanted Johnny, and
she didn't want to be alone.
Mara, and
she didn't want to be alone. And then here's Kate with this beautiful built-in family, and oh well, just so yeah. So they go on this. Tully decides. I don't even remember why she decided to do this, but Tully decided to go track down her mom, and basically, her grandma had always sent a monthly check to her mom so that her mom would always tell her mom where she was. And I think her grandma knew, I can't make her get better, but I can at least know where she is if I send her money every month. And so when her grandma died, the estate was set up to continue those payments. So Tully wants to go on this trip to track her mom down. I don't know. She thinks it's going to be some sort of, and everything's about the show with Tully. Like, everything's about the TV show or a broadcast or what this can get me. And just like with Johnny in the hospital, she goes to track her mom down because, oh, this will be great TV. We're going to do this documentary about addiction and
How I helped my mom
my
through
journey
rehab.
to find my mother. And yeah. And so they finally track her down in this like dump. And they walk in and like this camera is following Tully everywhere. Anyway, she didn't want to do this because, well, she wants to track her mom down, but she wants Kate to go with her, but Kate can't go. And so John says, but Tully doesn't want to go by herself. And so John says, well, why don't you take a crew and film it? That way you won't be alone. And Tully says, only if you'll produce it for me, because I know you'll protect me. And Kate doesn't want him to go, but he does. And because he will take care of her, because he knows her, he will protect her. And yet they get into it. And she says, I know that you'll turn the camera off if I tell you to. And he goes, no, I won't.
Yeah.
No, I won't. Remember Iraq? So I don't know where this whole you'll protect me comes from. Whatever. But they find her anyway. They go in and it's like, put it all on camera. Her walking in and finding her mother baked, laying out, scraggly, ragged, skinny. And put it all on camera. Nobody asked her mother's consent to be put on camera. Nothing. Nothing. Well, they take her to a hospital to get her some treatment, or a hotel room, I guess. Hotel room.
Because they're going to set her up for rehab.
Yeah. And Tully leaves for a little bit. When she comes back, her mom's gone. And
stole her jewelry.
Yeah. So, and of course, this is all on camera. Mm-hmm. And because of this, they air the documentary. And all of a sudden, Tully is America's darling because everybody got to see all of her pain.
How hard it is for Tully Hart.
Tully Hart, who only ever uses people to get ratings. So she gets this show, her own talk show, but she'll only do it if Johnny will be her producer. And he does it.
Shocker.
So all of a sudden, he and Tully are working together like 12, 14-hour days. But that's not supposed to make Kate feel insecure at all.
No.
At all. None. And in the meantime, again, all the whining is going on. Kate wanted to be a writer, but she just didn't have the time. Because the first pregnancy, she had a miscarriage, and then she got pregnant and had a daughter, Mara, and then she was going back to school for creative writing, and wouldn't you know it, boom, she's pregnant again. With twin boys. So she gives all that up. There's like one point, this is where nothing's followed through on this book. There she's talking about how overwhelmed she is. She never has any time for herself. All the things I have to cook, I have to clean. I'm doing all these volunteer activities at the kids' schools and then taking care of the kids and being the mom taxi. And Mara's in 10 different activities and I just don't have time. And Tully turns to John and says, you asshole. Can't you even clean or hire somebody?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, she didn't ask.
Shouldn't have to ask.
Well, they're both had been encouraging Kate to keep writing, to work on her book. Okay, whatever. Men are clueless sometimes. I get that. But you get later on in the book, Kate is still cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and doing all the volunteer activities, still whining about how she doesn't have any time for herself to make any career. She doesn't know who she wants to be, and she has no time to figure it out. Okay? And Tully's constantly whining about how alone she is, how she has this great and wonderful life, but what good is it if I have no one to share it with?
because she always wants more.
So and I think Kate at one point told her, you never loved anybody but yourself. You never told anybody that you loved.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's on repeat. No matter what, that's on repeat. Well, Mara John calls her at one point a first-class bitch. And that doesn't happen until way later in the book. And I'm like really surprised that it took him that long to say it, because she was. She was. And I really thought that whole teenage angst thing was so overblown.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Teenage girls can be teenagers in general. I have 2 boys. Let me tell you, teenagers in general. But of course, stereotypically, it's girls. And I get it. I remember you at that age. You had your moments.
Sure did.
My mother says I had my moments, but I don't believe her. My mama. Yeah, but it's not every day, all the time, every second. Mara was like...
And they weren't like little small fights. These were like knockdown, drag out fights.
I'm like, there's something wrong with that girl. She needs therapy.
She does. She does. If anyone in this book needed therapy, like they were all trying to get Kate to go into therapy, which I do think that she might have benefited from a little bit, because I feel like she was pretty depressed.
I think so too.
But if anyone needs therapy, it was Mara. For whatever reason, I don't know. I don't understand what her problem was with Kate. Like I understand
I don't either.
that, like Kate was just being a mother,
and that was like so many things in this book. It was like it used shortcuts. Like there didn't really have to be any major problem between Kate and Mara, because, well, that's just mothers and daughters.
But it's not.
It's not. But there was so many like shortcuts like that, and the end is another one. It's like manufactured drama. It takes all these shortcuts and hits on the things that are supposed to make us emotional, or supposed to get a response from us because other situations gave us that response. You know, there was a couple times I did cry, and normally I say if a book can make me cry, it's good. But the problem is that this leaned on these things. Like, my gosh, I used to cry at Folgers commercials. It went to me. Mom wakes up to the smell of coffee, and she goes downstairs, and it's Timmy home for Christmas. And he made her coffee. It makes you bawl every time. And why? Because it hits on those things that we already have a shortcut to. That's what this did. There was it's mothers and daughters have conflict, and so that's why. That's why. There was never anything that happened. I mean, my gosh, that girl had a hormone problem. Seriously, she needed help. If she truly, I mean, it was constant. Mm-hmm. They could not have civil words ever. No. Unless Kate gave in. If Kate let Mara do something she wanted to do, then it was like, oh, Mommy, I love you. And I mean, she's like sociopath.
The things, too, that Mara wanted to do, like, they were just so outlandish, too. Like, she's 14 years old, and she's asking her mom if she can go to a concert on a Tuesday night with senior boys, like 2-3 hours away from home, and it was like a rock concert, and they weren't going to be home until maybe like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
What? So, and I just want to know, like, what mother would be like, oh yeah, that sounds great.
Oh, Tully's mom.
True. But I mean, like, what good mother?
Because Tully was right in the middle of all this. Yeah. And she was like taking Mara's side. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Tully had called Mrs. M, Kate's mom, and was talking to her. And Mrs. M told her, you are Kate's friend. You are not Mara's friend. You need to stop trying to be Mara's best friend and be a friend to Kate. This is her daughter. Yeah. And again, one of those times when Tully is warned by Mrs. M in the book, and it just, there's nothing. She didn't even think about it.
No, because then Tully's like, oh, you know what's really going to solve this problem between Mara and Kate is if I bring them on my show.
Oh, but wait, with the concert thing, remember, because Mara ran away.
Yeah.
Snuck out of her room, ran away to Tully's. And then Tully was like, oh, well, you know.
I can take a limo.
And when they,
chaperone.
Yeah, they can take my limo so they're not driving.
Yeah, and I'll chaperone.
I went to a concert when I was her age. Yeah. Again, would have stopped being Tully's friends the minute she was trying to undermine. She undermined Kate all the time.
Like with the...
All the time.
What was the other thing that had happened?
The modeling school.
Yes.
The modeling school thing. She was going to modeling school or classes or whatever. And there was some big conference in New York City. They lived in Seattle. Some big conference thing in New York City. And Kate was like, absolutely not. And Tully kept pushing it like I would go with her.
Yeah. But this girl is like, again,
14.
And you want to go send her off into the world of modeling?
Yeah, that was 14. That was Kate's whole thing.
And it cost $3,000. And she would miss school. It's like, no, this poor girl doesn't need to be traumatized this early in life. Yeah. Because the whole modeling world is not a good, safe place for a teenage girl who's already probably having a lot of self-confidence and self-image issues.
I'm not sure she did. I think she thought an awful lot about herself.
True. But maybe it would have been good for her to go and knock her down.
Anyway, yeah, I think, I mean.
Just, I don't know.
Sociopathic behaviors. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So after this discussion with Miss M, Tully's like, oh, and then John calls her and says, can you talk to Kate? Can you do this? Mara's being a first-class bitch. And so Tully's going to help her friends. Mm-hmm. And the way that she helps her friends.
By bringing them on to live television. And guess whose side Tully is on?
Well, Kate thinks that they're going on this show to talk with, it's kind of like Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kate thinks they're going on the show in order to, contentious
heart-to-heart conversations.
Contentious relationships between mothers and daughters, and that she and Mara would have a chance to work on this with this guy therapist that was going to be on the show, and they would make their way back to each other. And that was what Kate thought going in. But once again, this whole idea of being a TV show, again, first of all, I guess I'm just terribly too much a private person. This idea that your life is available for public viewing is just, I mean, if Tully wants to do that with her own life, fine. Yeah. But she keeps dragging everybody else into it for the sake of drama and ratings. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tully brings them both onto the show, and it turns out that that is not what is happening here, and it's Tully and the doctor are there to tell Kate that she's being a helicopter over-controlling parent.
Overprotective parents and how it's ruining their children.
Yeah.
Mara.
Her best friend.
Mara was so fragile.
Yeah.
And Kate was just ruining her. And Kate's parents were there in the audience. Johnny was there. And Tully had cut everybody out of this.
Yeah, no one knew the plan except for Mara. Mara did know the real reason, like the whole point of the show. And of course, Mara was all for it because she just hated her mom so much because her mom was like the absolute worst person.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, so Kate walks off. And
before she walks off, she yells at Tully and pretty much has this whole thing about how Tully is it's all Tully all the time. She's never loved anyone but herself and blah blah blah. Mic drop and walks out. And I'm just like, girl, yes,
well, right.
I was there.
You want the cameras on? Oh, and then Tully was like, "You embarrassed me in front of national TV."
You embarrassed me, bitch! Like, you're on there telling the whole world about how terrible of a parent I am, and you're supposed to be my best friend.
You pull that, and then, and Mrs. M was just like, oh my gosh. Mrs. M had done her best to help Tully through everything. And then at this moment, she's like, How could you?
Yeah, she's like, how could you not understand why she's upset?
How could you? And after this whole thing, Kate's in her bedroom and Mara comes in and Mara says, I just wanted to go to a concert. Sociopath. Anyway, it was all so much. And it was just terrible people doing terrible things. And nobody. Anyway, Kate cuts Tully off out of her life. She will
that
not.
Was it. That was the last straw.
That was it. There's still a lot of book left though, so you know something's gonna happen. And did Johnny quit his job over that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he left the show too as her producer.
So they hadn't spoken for years, and then Tully ends up taking a job in Antarctica, and she leaves for like
they're on hiatus
8 weeks or whatever.
Her show goes on hiatus during a couple of months, and she goes to Antarctica on some kind of documentary assignment. And this clinched the bad book impression for me, is that after all of this, now Kate no longer has her, quote, best friend. She still can't speak to her daughter without her daughter deciding to get out knives and stab her with them. And of course, there is the ever-present, I've done nothing with my life. Yeah, that's still going on. So Johnny basically says, you know, I think you need to go to your doctor. You're depressed. Maybe, you know, to get some depression. Maybe some hormones are going on. You know, you got to go. You got to go. Talk to your doctor. So she does. And this is the extent, again, this book starts stuff and does not finish it. The doctor says, why are you here? And she says, my husband thinks I'm depressed. The doctor says, are you? I guess I'm a little blue. And they go into the exam and they find something. The doctor finds something on Kate's breast that Kate had been to her doctor for, and they thought it was a bug bite, infected bug bite.
Yeah, they thought it was a bug bite at first, and then they're like, well, it's an infection, and they gave her antibiotics for it.
Right.
It didn't go away. This was like 9 months ago.
Yeah. So, whatever. They start saying, well, I need you to go, we're going to scan. You're having a mammogram.
Ultrasound. Because she'd already had her mammogram and nothing came up.
Oh, my mammogram was clear.
Yeah, my mammogram was clear. And they'd had breast cancer and stuff in the family before. So her aunt. So she's like, I do self-checks and everything. Like, I'm very on top of all of this.
Yeah, you can see where this is leading, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Kate has breast cancer.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's stage 4 and it's aggressive.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's terminal.
Well, she's starting into treatments. She's gonna have the surgery. She's gonna get a double mastectomy.
And then radiation
chemo. So she gets up in the middle of the night. She calls Tully. Tully's in Antarctica. So Kate starts to leave a message, and then I don't know, power goes out or something. Mid-call. And so when Tully gets back from Antarctica, she hears this message from Kate, and I don't know how she twisted it into Kate still blaming her. Basically, apparently Kate just called her up in the middle of the night to say, girl, you're a bitch. Still haven't forgotten. Click.
Yeah.
That's how she interpreted it.
Which all Kate's message had said was just like, hey.
I can't believe you haven't called me.
Yeah.
To apologize.
Yeah.
I can't believe you haven't called me to apologize. So apparently, in Tully's mind, Kate got up in the middle of the night just to call and blame her again.
Yeah.
And of course, Tully thinks she has nothing to apologize for. She was just trying to help.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So she doesn't call her back.
She doesn't call her. Months go by.
And then
Kate has her surgery.
Oh, Kate calls her again. Remember?
No.
Yeah, it was. Remember, because that was funny. She told her assistant to tell her.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't come to the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that was so funny.
it was just, yeah, something about how, like, you tell that bitch to get over out of her designer clad chair, and some I don't remember what exactly it was.
There wasn't as much to that end part as I thought. It felt like it lasted forever, but it didn't.
Yeah, but that was pretty funny when they had like their little back and forth there for a little bit. But that was again like
Sweet.
post surgery and treatment.
Yeah, this was way later. Kate had already had her mastectomy and treatments, and nothing was working. But Tully didn't know any of this
Mhm.
because she didn't call Kate back.
Yeah. Which I'm sorry, but how can you not, like, even if you thought that your friend, your ex-friend was calling you to, you know, blame you or yell at you again, how could you not call them back? Because I just I don't understand how this could have happened. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I can't find it now. Oh, that cause see, that's already back. Well, and also Tully's mom ended up in the hospital again, and the hospital called Tully, and then she went to meet her mom, which ended the same way as every other time.
Yeah. Which was one thing that I really hated about this book in comparison to the TV show. Another thing, there's multiple. In the TV show, Cloud has like redemption, or like her character is redeemed. Like she changes her ways, she sobers up, and she becomes like not like a great mom, but she's like a much better mother to Tully and like all of that. Like it's just I like her arc in the TV show a lot better than in the book. 'Cause, like in the
Mhm.
book, she's an addict the whole time and is like a terrible mother and like all that. But like in the TV show, I love her character. She's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that she never went to rehab, that she never but it was like there was never an end to it.
Hmm.
Like, Tully never said, "Okay,
Like enough's
that's
enough. Yeah.
enough's enough, and I'm done. I understand that I can't fix her. I can't.
Hmm.
And that I have other people in my life who love me, so it's okay."
Yeah.
But that never happens.
No.
There's never any sort of closure to that at all. But yeah, when Kate calls from the hospital because she's back in the hospital and all the treatments have not worked and all of that, and her assistant, she won't come, Tully won't go on the phone, so her assistant has to keep doing it, and her assistant comes back and says, Miss Ryan says, and I quote, "Tell that bitch to get her designer clad ass out of her ridiculously expensive leather chair and come to the phone. She also says that if you ignore her on this of all days, she's selling those pictures she had of you with a bad perm to the tabloids." I would have done it already anyway, dear. Whatever. Anyway, that's where Tully finds out that Kate is in the hospital and goes running to her side and apologizes. Does she apologize for trying to um, interfere with Mara and Kate's relationship? Mm-mm. Does she apologize for ambushing her best friend on national television? Mm-mm. She apologizes because she never called her back.
And Kate
When
is like, that is as good of an apology as I'm ever gonna get from Tully.
Mhm. So there was nothing resolved.
No. Just
Nothing.
once again, Kate is just accepting Tully's bad friend behavior.
Kate, Kate, Kate still thinks that her husband and her best friend have the hots for each other. Kate still was ambushed by her best friend who doesn't feel bad about it at all. And Kate's like, but now Kate's dying, so everything's washed away. Made everything better. And even Mara, which you would expect Mara to be, you know, feel guilty, feel bad, want to make up with her mom and be close to her mom. Granted, but there's never any kind of like talk. With Mara never comes in and was like, "Mom, I've been such a bitch," and so that Kate can say, "It's okay. you're a kid. No.
None
None
of
of that.
Like
None.
Mara does get better with her
Marginally.
behavior for sure, but
Because Kate's dying. Her mom's dying.
yeah.
Nothing's resolved in this book. It's just all washed away because Kate's dying.
Yep.
All of it.
Yep.
All of it. And I'm like, but I know this is hyperbole, but I'm like thinking if I was dying, I wouldn't want any of those damn bitches around me. Get away from me. I want my mama.
Yep.
Her mom was the only one that had her back ever.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, yeah, none. 400 pages worth of stuff never got resolved, got washed away because Kate was dying. That's it. That's it. Kate's dying, so everybody comes together. And everybody's good. There were never any problems. We're fine now.
Not fine.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So then Tully goes back on TV again.
And what does she do? Uses Kate for views and ratings.
She has a show on this particular type of breast cancer that Kate has because it's an unusual thing. It's not a lump, it's like a rash instead, which is why
inflammatory breast cancer is
Yeah.
what the book called it. I meant to look into it and
why
see
Kate didn't
how
know it was
Mhm.
cancer. So she did a show on that, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
But then at the end, she throws Kate out there again.
Yeah.
My best friend Kate has this, and now I'm going to be taking time off from my TV show because I need to be there for Kate.
And she had walked out onto the stage for this show too, like no makeup or anything.
Yeah.
But she's like, I just wanted to be
even
more real.
Let them see me as I am.
Yeah.
What? Girl,
Like,
what does that have to do with anything? You have been fake since you were 10 years old. You don't even have a personality. I did not like her.
No.
Ever.
She's better in the
And
TV
I
show.
mean, granted, beautiful thing to take time off work to be there for your dying friend. It's beautiful. Why did she have to tell the entire nation on her TV show?
Right. Especially too, since I
That
feel
it was
like
her
Kate is a fairly private person.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
Why did we have to sit there and why couldn't she have said, a friend of mine has this and is dying, and so I'm going to be taking
Because she
time off?
also brought up the fact that this was the same one that she
Yeah.
had ambushed on the live before with the daughter. Like,
Yeah.
that was how she led. Like, you guys remember Kate from this episode. And so now if they don't remember, they're going to go out and search for her. So that's just a whole reliving thing for Kate that she's going to have to deal with. Well, I guess she doesn't really have to deal with it for long. But,
No,
like,
she doesn't. She
still,
doesn't.
like, that's not okay. They're just throwing her under the bus again.
Again, using her
And, yeah.
again.
It's like,
God.
this woman is so frustrating.
Mm.
It's like, I wouldn't want her there.
I wouldn't either.
I'm surprised that she didn't bring a camera crew in
Well, right.
and like document
We're gonna
how
document
difficult
this
it
thing.
is to have a friend dying from cancer.
The world needs to
world
know
needs to
about
know
your journey,
about
Kate.
the struggles. We are all victims too.
Yeah.
I guarantee she would have like spun it in some way like
I am
that.
too,
about
because
how,
she
like, I am a
never
victim.
once felt bad for any time that she threw Kate under the bus. No. Never.
No.
And it wasn't like there at the end either that she went to Mara and said, you know what, the way I reacted with you, that was wrong. I am your godmother, so we should have been able to like spa days and things like that, but I should never have undermined you with your mom. And
No.
Nothing. Like I said, nothing was resolved. 400 pages, this story spent building up these specific issues. Nothing. Nothing.
No, nothing.
Because Kate's dying, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I'm sure Kate doesn't want that resolution.
That's a choice.
Not a good one. Again.
But it's like it would have taken so little to have some resolution to that.
Yeah.
I mean, in the
Well, there
end,
was plenty of
Tully-
time in there to do it.
Tully could have come clean and fully realized what a bitch she'd been. She apologized for not calling Kate back. That was it. Boy. But anyway, it didn't, and so Kate dies.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, I expected.
Again, that's a choice.
Yeah, they did it a lot better in the TV show.
Well, of course they did.
Yeah. I'm not going to spoil it. You're probably not going to watch
probably
it. But,
not.
you know, it's done a lot better in the TV show. Like, the way that they did it. All of the characters are better in the TV show. Like, Tully is still a bitch, but she's not as terrible in the show as she is in the book. Like,
she has a conscience.
She does. She actually does. And, I mean, she's still not the best friend in the world, but she's a lot better. Like, I could totally, I could get it. I get it. And the whole reason, like, the whole live TV show thing, like, that doesn't happen in the TV show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no. There's a whole different reason why they don't talk for a while. And it makes a little bit more sense. And I don't know, like, the way that they handled the cancer and stuff in the show was done so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hated the way that they handled this in the book. Hated it so much. Because it's like, this is not realistic. I'm sorry, but this is not realistic.
Mm-mm.
Things don't go this way. And it's like, is it? No! I don't know. Like, I was so frustrated at that point. Because I'm like, this... When you have, like, a close personal connection like that to the situation, and then when it's handled so badly, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hated that. That was one of my least favorite parts of the whole book. Was the ending.
Oh, it was the worst for me. It was the worst.
And then there wasn't even, like, a whole thing about, like, when Kate did die. It was just, like, the funeral. Like, they didn't even have, like, a moment.
Yeah.
Where it's just, like, her last, like, her last moments. They didn't have that.
Well, it was
just, like, you knew that it was coming, and then all of a sudden...
she'd been to a play of Mara's play,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just this little paragraph saying, like, she died, whatever, in that evening or on whatever date with her family around her.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. Like, she said a special goodbye to each one. Well, could you have written that, maybe?
Yeah, that would have been nice to have read, you know? Like,
so I don't
know. They could have even had, like, a special moment with Tully. I wouldn't have liked it, but, you know, like, it would have made sense for that to happen.
You know what I kept thinking while I was reading that is about the movie Stepmom. Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon. Have you ever watched that? Oh, you want to talk about. So, y'all have seen that, right? It's been out forever. So, yeah. It's a movie about, like, Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts' husband. They were married and divorced, and there's 2 children. And so now he's getting ready to marry, or he's marrying Julia Roberts, so she's going to be the stepmom.
Okay.
Well, Susan Sarandon has cancer. And so it's kind of a journey through how it's so good. That movie's so good. You want to talk about family drama? Well, and there's a daughter that's probably about 12, 13 years old. Yeah, watch that movie. But that's what I was thinking, like, this whole time. Even the scene where I did like that scene where Kate and Tully and Mrs. M are on the beach.
Oh, and they're smoking pot.
And they're smoking pot because Kate has a prescription.
Okay, so
I thought that was funny.
That scene where, like, Kate comes out and Tully pushes her in the wheelchair, and that moment was so sweet. That's in the show. And when they're smoking pot together, that's in the show.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, I'm so glad that they kept that.
Because the wheelchair bit, it took back to when they were kids. And one of the times that Kate snuck out of the house
Because they used to sneak out and go ride their bikes.
to go bike riding, and they would go down this big hill, and Tully would always tell Kate, let go, put your hands out. So kind of went back to that, which was neat.
Mm-hmm.
There were neat moments. It just would have been so much better if it still would have, I don't know. I didn't like that. Okay, this is going to sound stupid. I didn't like that Kate died. I mean, obviously. But I think it was a cheap out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cheap way to wrap things up. When we were reading Eleanor Oliphant, and there was no, it could have been a cheap out. She could have died. She could have taken sleeping pills, ended up in the hospital, had a heart-to-heart with, what's his name, Rodney,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. And then died. But she didn't, because that book did the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That book did the work to go through it and work through things and resolve things. This didn't. This was just an easy out. It was like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna get these people to like each other again, so I'm just gonna kill somebody off. That'll get them back together.
Yep.
And that's all it was. And so it just felt really contrived and really manufactured that Kate ended up sick and dying. But whatever, it was a choice. That's the way the book went. But yeah. And then boom, they're at her funeral. And Tully once again makes it about Tully.
Okay, so I have to admit that they also kept that part in the show. The note's a little different, but and the way that she gets the box is different too. But I did like that part in the book. And I really liked it in the show too. And I understand that you're not gonna like it, but for Tully in this book, I didn't like that ending, but for the Tully in the TV show, it made sense.
Yeah.
It worked better.
I mean, I liked the box itself.
Yeah.
I liked that part because, at the funeral, she's there, she's with everybody, and she's tells them to go on. She just needs a minute. And she did that once before, too. Where she was somewhere she wouldn't stay.
It was when the foster home stuff, right?
No.
I don't know.
Was she at somebody else's funeral and she wouldn't go in? No? Okay, never mind. Anyway, she sends them in, and then she's like, this is bullshit. I'm not going to go in there and listen to some guy who talk about a Kate I didn't know or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, supposedly Kate was Catholic. Supposedly this priest didn't know Kate, but Kate had been to church every Sunday, which you never saw in the book either. So, whatever that was about. And I'm like, well, okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you can go to church every Sunday and never meet your priest. It's certainly possible. But it was just like, God, can you not make this about Kate just once? This is her own funeral and it can't be about her. I can't handle it. I'm not doing it. I am not going to go in there and pay my respects to my best friend for the last time. I am not going to be there to hold her daughter's hand or her mother's hand or her husband's hand. Seriously? Nope, not going to be there for anybody because Tully can't handle it. Once again. Anyway, the funeral director comes out and has this box that Kate had told him to give to Tully because she knew that Tully would not be inside. She would be outside. So, whatever. The box was cool. She wrote Tully a letter, and then she had some things in this box, like cigarettes, because Tully smoked when they were kids. And so it was a pack of cigarettes with a Post-it note on that says, "Smoke me." There was 3 things. I can't remember. What were they?
The cigarettes, and then it was a signed photo of David's
Cassidy. Yeah.
And it said "Kiss Me" on it. And
yeah, because he was so groovy.
Yeah.
They grew up in the 70s.
Yeah. And then it had an iPod with
Oh yeah, listen.
Dancing Queen on it, and it
Yeah.
said "Play Me
Play me.
and Dance."
Yeah. And so she's
That
like,
was the
yeah.
part in the show where I cried so hard.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. She opened the box in the show. It says in the show, Johnny's the one that gives it to her. They're standing out front of the church, and she's staring up at it, and she's like having a panic attack. Kind of. She's like, I don't know if I can go in there, Johnny. I really don't. And he looks at her just like, Kate didn't think you'd be able to. So here's the box. You can stay out here.
No.
Like she said to give this to you. And it was just like so much. It was done better.
So much better.
So much better.
Yeah.
And so then they all go inside, process it, and then she sits out on the bench right outside the church and like goes through the whole box, and all that's in there except instead of cigarettes, it's just a joint. And so she's out there smoking pot, and she's kissing David Cassidy, and then she puts the headphones in. She's just dancing the Dancing Queen, and I'm just over here, tears streaming down my face. Like, it was so good, so much better, like done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. This disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Honestly, I think that if I had read this book first and then saw it was going to be a TV show, I wouldn't have watched the TV show. I honestly think that, and that's really sad. Like, I'm so happy that I broke my rule of like wanting to read the book first, because otherwise I wouldn't have found the amazing show that Firefly Lane is. Like, no. Like,
yeah, I probably still won't watch it.
I think you should, but it's okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's still the whole, I don't know.
It's so much better than the book.
Like the lifelong decades family drama things are just not my thing, and I know they're my mama's, and I know she loves them. And I love you, Mama, but I didn't like your book. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mom. I also didn't like the book. But I do really like you, so.
We do. Yeah, we do. I didn't like the book. I still gave it 3 stars, though, because it is objectively a good written book. Mm-hmm. It really is. And other than the plotting problems, I read a 500-page book in 2 days. So it's a good read if you can do that. And so yeah, I mean, and if you don't mind the shortcuts to your emotions, those things that are used, there's a name for those things. Those things that you can just trigger. And it'll get in automatically emotion response because you associate it with something else. There's a name for those things, and I don't know what it is. I can't remember, but there's a name for it. But anyway, I mean, if you don't mind that, I just do. I just like things. I don't know.
Kelly doesn't like her authors to be lazy.
I don't. I like there to be some background to it, some reason for it. I don't know. I still cried whenever Timmy came home at Christmas. So what can I say? Made the coffee. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not a badly written book. It's a pretty easy read, pretty quick read. And, if kind of your thing is that following through that the kind of books that span a lifetime, you probably like that regardless of the problems with the plot. Yeah, it's like I said, it just started off on the wrong foot with me because I don't like that. But
I do kind of like that, and I still didn't like it.
Still didn't like it.
What
can we say? To each their own. To each their own.
I know that there were some people. I had posted that I was reading this book on Instagram, and I said something about like I hope it's as good as the show. And there were some people that responded to me like it is, and I'm like I'm so sorry. Dang it, I'm so sorry.
I don't agree.
I don't agree at all. But I'm really glad that you enjoyed the book.
Yeah, and like I said,
I will never be upset that someone enjoyed a book. Like, just because I did it. Like, that's great.
To each their own. And I can see why people like this book. I really can. It's just, I think there's also people that give characters in books benefits of the doubt that I don't give them. I just don't. I expect there to be reasons behind things, and you really need to get to know a character. And I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot can go back to the way that Tully was raised, and she probably has some attachment issues considering. But you want to make that kind of a person and put them out as the best friend of someone else. You got to work a little bit at that. If you want a sociopath to be a best friend, you've really got to work at that. And it just didn't. It just was like, well, yeah, I mean, they're best friends.
Yeah.
No, sorry. But anyway, I still gave it 3 stars though, because yes, it is a very well written book. And I certainly would not steer anybody away from it. I would never say, oh my gosh, it's a slog to get through or anything like that. It is not. It's a very well written book. And again, Kate's mom, Mrs. Malarkey, she's amazing. I loved her. And Bud.
Yeah.
Bud. Kate's dad, Bud. That was pretty good too. So yeah, I would never say otherwise. Read it. Read it. If you liked it, I'm glad you did. I can see why you did. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. As per our usual length of
Lives.
book club.
Yeah.
Not a book club, but
yeah.
Here we are. This is what happens when there's no editing involved.
Yeah. All of our tangents and rants and all the things here on full display for over an hour.
But there we are.
We are who we are.
Yeah, you got it this way because we didn't film earlier in the week, and so Amy had absolutely no way she could have edited a video and posted it. So we're like, hey, let's go live again. Why not?
Why not? You know. So
why not?
Yeah. But I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. And also, if you're not already subscribed, hit the little red subscribe button underneath this video. Especially if you're watching later. I don't know where it is when you're watching it live, but it should be down below.
It's there somewhere.
It's somewhere. And also comment. Let us know your thoughts on Firefly Lane.
Yeah.
If you've read it.
Yeah.
If you plan on reading it now. Was the TV show better? Do you agree with me? Was the TV show better? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you on that.
Absolutely. And if you're watching us because you were suggested because of book stuff, we have more book content, or Amy has more book content. It's her channel. I keep telling her that. More book content. Or if you're, this is okay, but I like other stuff, you can also go and check out her other videos on shopping hauls and home decor. 3 cutest kitties ever.
Yeah, they're so cute. And they're
Make sure my cats didn't hear
George.
me saying that.
We love you too, George. You're so cute.
George is huge and fluffy. He'll smother me in my sleep. But yeah, shopping hauls, home decor. She's currently deep cleaning every room in her house. So you can get, and just watching those videos, honestly, you get good organizing ideas because it's the queen of organization here. I am not even kidding.
Thank you.
Also,
affordable organization too.
Yes, it is. Also, she tried out HelloFresh, the whole meal box thing. So you can see that. There's all kinds of comments. She also has links to her blog, which has even more content on it. Busy girl. So that is it. Check it out.
Yeah. And also be sure to go follow us on Instagram.
Oh, yes.
I'll have those linked down in the description. Kelly posts a lot of book things, so if you're definitely into books, then she's the Instagram account to follow.
Yeah, sure.
She is. She's the best one.
We'll go with
for
that.
Sure. And I have all of my updates on for the blog and YouTube and our book stuff too. So yeah, go give us both a follow.
Yeah, and join us every Sunday.
3-ish p.m.
3-ish p.m. for new stuff. Again, in
June.
Well, right now, May, we're reading. There it is. Their Eyes Were Watching God. So join us in reading this. We will have a book club discussion at some point. Normally, it is the first Sunday of every month. We do a live at 3 o'clock. In June, we have a church celebration. That is the first Sunday. So we won't be able to go live on that day. Well, hi, puppy dog. I have a dog too. Yeah,
we'll let you know.
But we
what
will
day.
be, so kind of watch Instagram. We will have another video next week where we'll try and mention what we've decided to do for that, because I don't know what we're going to do. We'll do it.
Yeah, we need to discuss that.
We do. We really do. We're going to try and just, the second Sunday, we always do our wrap up. So we might just flip-flop those. I don't know. But yeah, we'll try and let you know. But this is the book we're reading. So if you'd like to read along with us and then join us for our discussion when we have it.
Yeah. So, all right. Oh, I think that's going to do it for
Hey, puppy.
our Firefly Lane discussion and all of that good jazz. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed watching. And
yeah,
we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Sergi.